Hello and good evening. Hello and good evening to you all. I don't know if anyone's there. If anyone is there, please let me know. Um, yes, we're here. So back again. Um, whether a thunderstorm may interrupt, I don't know, or whether anyone is actually able to hear me, I don't know because no one's come in. We've got one person who's come in. Can you hear me? You know, some days it works, some days it doesn't. This thing is very odd. Anyway, I'm having a nice glass of Chianti. Good afternoon, says Enigma. Well, I say good evening because it's evening here. But good evening. Can you hear me? There we go. Since I didn't give you any quizzes last night, I will give you a selection of quizzes and we'll see if we can get some winners. Leslie says, good morning from San Francisco. Well, good morning to San Francisco. I love San Francisco, a fabulous place. Spent many happy times there in Pacific Heights, and lots of good friends in San Francisco and the Napa Valley and all those places around there. Wonderful, wonderful place. So there we are. Yes, my program last night was a bit miserable, I realized, but we've carried on, but I'm not going to talk about that problem today. I don't think it's wise to bring up more. So no questions about that, please. I'd rather not talk about the topic in hand. There we are. So good afternoon to Adele in Canada. Good afternoon from Canada. Yes. Good day. I suppose you from Australia, Claudia? I don't know. Perhaps good day. Good day, as they say. Good evening, SS Racing, and good evening to Audrey and Chrissy and Cheryl and Lee, who's from North Shields and North Tyneside. Bog on the Tyne is all mine, Paul Gascoigne and all that. So there we are. So anyway, I think there's a bit of a storm brewing here. So good evening to Witsend, who's in Lancashire. Well, I loved Lancashire very much. I spent most of my childhood in Lancashire. So there we are. Yes. Hello to Sarah and Anne of Cleavers. Hello. And to Sonia Todd and everybody else who I've missed out. I'm very sorry if I've missed anyone out. Because there we are. Sarah Byrne is in Lancashire too. Well, maybe Sarah can meet Wits End. There we go. Sonia Todd says hi from sunny Bridlington. Bridlington, Yorkshire, I think. Is that right? Am I correct? I could be. Mr. Lee Kicker is from Pendle in Lancashire. There we go. And Wits End is in Darwin in Lancashire. So you could all meet up, couldn't you? You could have a Lancashire convention. Very good. Well, there's a fair few of you coming in. And yes, I thought tonight we'd just have some quizzes and something casual to talk about. I had a lovely message earlier today from my friend Samantha Markle, who's got a new phone number. I did try to ring her and I was going to try and talk about, her thoughts, but we haven't managed to speak yet. So perhaps we'll do that tomorrow. That could be something good for tomorrow. So anyway, you're in the East Riding of Yorkshire. Yes, there we are. Sonia Todd. The East Riding, Bridlington. Yorkshire is a fabulous place too. The War of the Roses doesn't mean that Lancashire people and Yorkshire people shouldn't get along now, because it was a long time ago. It's time for a bit of peace and it's time for a bit of quiet. We're not like Donald Trump. We don't want to stir the pot. There we are. Right. Okay. So, well, I'm very sorry I didn't really speak for long yesterday, but it was a little bit of a fraught time. So there we are. Anyway, whilst we're waiting for a few more of you, have you any questions on any particular topics? Let's have some questions on some particular topics. Maybe I can answer a few questions or try and answer them. And try to give an opinion. But it may be completely irrelevant, but there we go. Did I get a good night's rest last night? Not really, no. Yes, but I was up very early and I've done lots of tasks today. So There we go. Um, there we are. And today I've met some lovely new neighbours who I didn't know. They're from Northern Ireland. So there we are. And they've upgraded from an apartment to a house next door. Well, not next door, but a few doors away. So we have some new Northern Irish neighbours, and they're getting their boat delivered on Monday. So we'll see what they get delivered. Could be nice. Have I been out for lunch? No, I've just had fish finger sandwiches that I made myself. I love a fish finger sandwich. So, and I make my own Marie Rose type sauce to go with it, like I would with a prawn cocktail with lots of spice. The only thing I didn't have was sherry. It's a shame I haven't got any sherry here. I love sherry and I miss having sherry. That's something else. Sherry and mini cheddars. There's two things missing from my life. I do love a good sherry. I could have got some at the supermarket, I suppose, but I didn't think about it. So there we go. But the French aren't really into sherry, I don't think. So they probably don't even have it. There we are. You can't beat fishy fingers, says SS Racing. No, you can't. No, a fish finger sandwich on cheap white bread. Absolutely lovely. Glorious. Keeps you going. And it's got lots of omega-3 in it. It's very good for you. So it's a good thing to eat. Very good. It's a guilty pleasure from childhood, says Leslie S. I totally agree. That's where I got it from. And, my friend who was the recluse, it was one of his favorite things, but he didn't have a sandwich. He just ate the fish fingers with ketchup all over them, and it was quite revolting, actually. It wasn't very pleasant. Sherry with a lemonade top up as a spritzer. Well, I just like a dry sherry over a little bit of ice on a Sunday morning. It's a nice thing to accompany the Archers. And I do love listening to the Archers myself. So there we are. Right. Cult Television says hello. Hello to Cult Television in Canada. My dear friend, how are you? I hope you're doing very well. I say cheers to you. I've got a glass of red in your honor. Not as fine as some of the wines that you've been known to consume with me, but it's perfectly quaffable Chianti. There we are. Not bad for £5 in the local supermarket, €5. So there we go. Cult Television has just had a chicken pie with peas. Well, that's a very traditional dish, isn't it? Right. Okay. Cheers. So, yes. Are we having some fava beans? There's Cult Television. No, I'm not quite Hannibal Lecter yet, but you never know. No, I don't think. No, I was on a fish finger sandwich earlier, but I did have some pickpool to go with that, and now I'm having a glass of Chianti. And then later I'm going to have an early night, and it will be very pleasant to go to sleep. Having tidied up this house earlier and dealt with all manner of issues, there we are. Right. What's happening in the news today? Well, there's been word of Meghan's bad behavior at her wedding where she used the F word. That wasn't very appropriate, was it? I haven't managed to speak with Samantha, but Samantha Markle, that is, sent me a text message giving me her new number and saying hello, and we've exchanged a few texts, but I haven't managed to speak to her. Otherwise, I would have asked her opinion and I could have told you, but I'll tell you tomorrow. Yes, it's the Eurovision Song Contest tonight. I can't say I'm greatly enthused by the Eurovision Song Contest, but the Dutch couple who I know here, they are very enthusiastic about it. And they're looking forward to that little whatever they're doing with it. But tonight, wherever they're watching it, I don't know. I can't say I know much about it. But on Radio 4 this morning, they did talk enthusiastically about it. One of the presenters was on the Today Show, was very enthusiastic. I Don't know why, but he was. And, all these people get very worked up about this Eurovision Song Contest, but it's not really something that excites me. I don't know anything about it, so I'm not really into it. It's just I've watched it a couple of times with friends, and it's okay, but it's not very exciting to me. I don't really find it. Sarah Havison says, I don't rate the UK entry. Don't think we'll do very well this year. Well, there we go. Have I ever tried a deep fried Mars bar? Asks Audrey. I did try it once. Yes, I wasn't hugely enthused. It didn't. Not my kind of thing. But I love fish fingers. Yes, they're great, and I love all manner of other things. Mini cheddars, particularly. And I'm missing my mini cheddars. There we go. So yeah, that's a reason to come back to the UK, isn't it? Mini cheddars, because they don't sell mini cheddars here. The English section of the supermarket is completely boring and bland, and most of the English section is actually American, which is of no use to me. It's no use to man nor beast. So there we go. We did get some mini cheddars brought by our lovely friends the other day, but they were the Red Leicester version. Very nice of them to bring them, which was very, very kind. But I do prefer the traditional mini cheddar, to be honest. Right. Okay. You'd like me to do a rendition of Waterloo. Well, that won't be happening. That's not for me. If one of you wants to do it, you can call in and you could do it yourself. But I'm not a singer. I don't sing. I'm not a... No, I'd be absolutely hopeless. You'd all turn off. So anyway, there's plenty of you coming in and joining in and turning up. Do tornadoes ever happen in Europe? Well, there was the problem with the Bayesian yacht, of course. That was a pretty terrible disaster, and that wasn't a tornado, but it was a freak storm, and the winds were about 80 miles an hour, and that poor boat and those poor people. Well, they had no chance, did they? It sank within 16 minutes. So there you go. Have we got the car window fixed? Not yet, but we're on the case. So yeah, we're getting there with that. The French are very slow. I'm trying to work out their system of accounting, and we're getting the noise of the oncoming thunderstorm or whatever it's going to be, and the yacht behind me, which you can't see, is starting to rock a little. So I suppose there'll be a bit of bad weather in the night, but it normally brightens up. So we've got to keep cheerful, and keep happy. That's what we're best thing to do. So there we go. You're enjoying Prosecco and freshly squeezed clementines, says Leslie S. Well, that's very nice. I hope you're having a lovely time with your Prosecco and freshly squeezed clementines. It's very hot in Edinburgh today. Well, we love Edinburgh. It's one of the best cities on the planet. Absolutely walkable everywhere, and going up the Arthur's Seat Hill and the Royal Mile and that lovely crescent where there's all these cheese shops and things that I really like, and that restaurant, the Witchery. Haven't been there in many years, so I don't know if all of this is. Some of it may have changed, but do we own a yacht? No, I don't own a yacht. No, better off not to own a yacht. It's better be you have not own a yacht. They say if it flies, floats, or F star whatever, rent it, don't buy it. And that's good advice from my friend Sir Benjamin Slade, who was on the phone yesterday. Good old Sir Benjamin Slade, who is a fabulous individual. He does lots of wonderful projects, and he gets carried away with all his views on the world. Some people find him a little bit contentious, but I like him very much, and he phones me up a couple of times a week, and we have a bit of a laugh about whatever topic it is. Him and Rex Leyland, who Sexy Rexy, as he's known on Twitter. Um, I like these contentious people because they have more. Their views are a little more right wing than mine, I will admit, but it's quite jolly to have a little jape with him. And Rex does a program on Talk Radio Europe. So occasionally you get him, and he is the woke finder general on there. So he's a good one. And then my friend Peter Blexley, the detective who does the program Manhunt, he's been upsetting people this week as well because he dared make a remark about Keir Starmer's fire, and some woman reported him to Twitter. So he's in a Twitter storm with this mad woman. She sounds like a complete bore. Peter Blexley, we did a great dinner with, and when I come back to London, we're going to do a great dinner with Stephen Burkhoff, who's another one who is very contentious. My friends can be quite contentious. So Tina De Silva says, welcome to Kind Hearts. Okay, welcome to Kind Hearts. I'm not quite sure what welcome to Kind Hearts means, but is Kind Hearts a person, or I don't know. It's come up in green, so it's obviously something significant. Not quite sure what it means, but welcome to Kind Hearts. Right. What is my favorite British national park? I don't really have favorite anythings, but I love the Lake District. It's a lovely place, and the Yorkshire Dales, lovely place, and the Devon parks, lovely. There's loads of lovely places. Lots of wonderful places. Sarah Burns says membership for the channel. Okay, she's become a member. Okay, well, thank you for becoming a member. If any of other you want to be a member, please be a member. I don't know how that process works, but thank you. We like members. We like you all, but please become a member. A membership is a lovely thing to have. Let's be part of more and more of you join together. I'm not very good at technology, as you know, so that's that. But we're 17 minutes in, and we're coming up to having quite a few of you here, so we can soon start doing things. Any more questions? Let's have some questions, and then we'll have a little quiz. I can give you several quizzes this evening because I didn't give you any yesterday, so I'll give you at least 2, maybe 3, if you're lucky, or if you're unlucky, depending on whether you enjoy these quizzes or not. Yes, so right, any questions? I need some questions. There's 100 of you here now, so have I ever played polo? I haven't personally, no. I've ridden horses, but I haven't played polo, no. I don't think I'd be very good at that. I'm a bit too tall for playing polo. Most people I know who play polo are quite short. But I have some wonderful friends who are polo players, the most well-known being Peter Webb, who is a fabulous gentleman who is at the Royal Berkshire Polo Club. And obviously my friend Brian Stein, who's sadly died, was a big polo owner, and lots of other people who I know are very involved in polo. But no, clay pigeon shooting, yes, I've done that many times. I've done lots of forms of shooting, but there we are. Clay pigeon shooting is good for practice, but those clay pigeon things, they do make an awful mess. There we go. Right. Right. Okay. So sorry, there's some noisy thing in the background. And our seagulls are misbehaving today. They have been very naughty. We're not very happy with the seagulls because they have been making a mess on the table, and they've also made a mess of eating some of the flowers. So we don't really want that. What's my view on the chemicals? Which chemicals are we talking about? I don't know. I'm not sure. Tina De Silva says seagulls are pests. I tend to agree with you after their behavior today. They are getting so fussy, these 2 seagulls, and they're so territorial, and they attack anything else that comes near. And they won't eat the bread because the bread goes stale here after 12 hours. It's weird bread. French bread is a very strange thing. They don't like the bread. They did try to eat a fish earlier because I threw some of the bread for the fish, and they went for the fish rather than the bread. Um, but they like cakes, and they like anything with salt on it. So crisps. They love crisps with salt. Um, and they like pate. Anything kind of leftovers that's got anything kind of salty or sugary in it, but they don't like plain. They don't do plain. They don't eat vegetables. They don't eat fruit. They're very fussy of seagulls. Yes. Uh, yes. Seagulls can be very vicious at times, says Cheryl Betts sometimes. There we are. Yes, you're quite right. Um, right. Okay. Do I have any plans for Sunday? Well, we might have the Northern Irish new neighbours round for a drink. It could be a nice thing to do. I hope you've all got lovely plans yourself for Sunday. The seagulls empty your bins, and you were very worried about your puppy last year. Well, yes, don't let them near dogs. Seagulls can do very nasty things to dogs and children, so don't let them near anything, or well, even adults. And I've seen them roaming around supermarkets. Even they're totally mad. What time is it there right now? It's 8:30 nearly. It's coming up 25 past 8 nearly. So, seagulls are doing a better job than the bin men. Well, in many ways, seagulls are better than bin men because at least they'll eat anything. They'll eat plastic. They're completely mad, especially in Birmingham. Yes, well, I think Birmingham needs more seagulls and less Labour politicians. That might be a useful thing to have. So there we go. It's 1:25 in the afternoon with Barbie Scooby. There we are. Well, you've only got the start of the day to go. Jane Hennessy says, where I live, there is a seagull that walks into the corner shop and takes packets of crisps from the shelves. It takes packets outside and eats the crisps. It was on ITN in the national news. I did see this. It took, if it's the same seagull, it took the mini cheddars. And it's very into mini cheddars, that seagull. So it's a seagull with taste, your local seagull. I will say it's improved. They used to eat worms. Well, I don't think Penelope and Keith are into worms. They like anything with sugar or salt. They're into that. And I don't want them eating the worms because the worms help aerate the soil in the garden. And after all my gardening yesterday, I'd rather the worms stay in the garden than be near Penelope and Keith. But we also get magpies and sparrows and all sorts of other, and occasionally a collared dove. So there we go. But they are becoming a little friendly, and they've taken to sitting on the table, which is not very helpful. I don't want them on the table because the mess they make is disgusting, and then it has to be hosed down, and it's too revolting. You call me the seagull whisperer. I don't think I'm quite at that stage yet. I did have a friend in Whitstable in Kent whose neighbour kept a seagull with a broken wing, which he named Stephen Seagal. And Stephen Seagal was a vicious thing, and his flat was destroyed. This man, I don't know why he kept this stupid bird with a broken wing, and it attacked his dog and even took its eye out. It was a revolting thing. It was horrible. I don't know why you'd want to live with a seagull inside your house. And these two, they're not getting inside. That's for sure. Not whilst I'm here, anyway. Madam can do what she wants if I'm not here, but I would not have them anywhere near anything because they are ridiculous. Yeah, sharp beaks, dangerous, precisely. Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Any more questions on any more topics? Nope. No questions. Well, if we have no questions, we might do a quiz. So let's think about a quiz. We're 25 minutes into this program, and we could do a quiz. Am I near a beach? Yes, there is a beach nearby, but unfortunately, the beach restaurant does not open until next month because they make them tear it down for the winter. It's very strange, the things they do here. The shops also, they make them board up for the winter. They're very odd in the way they do things. Um, have I ever listened to a US Supreme Court case? I haven't listened to one, no, but I know about various court cases, particularly the court cases of Menendez brothers. But um, I was going to give my opinion on the latest update on Madeleine McCann. Well, I will say it. The current case against Christian Bruckner is it's just a joke. It's just a waste of time. They've been going at this since 2020. Nothing has been achieved. He will be getting out of jail in September. They have no evidence against him. He is a vile, evil man. He's wicked. He's sick in the head. He's a total disgrace. But I don't think he has anything to do with this because in 5 years, they haven't found any evidence that proves his link to the case. Yes, he has done very sick things. All the children's swimming costumes he'd buried in his garden, and all these weird things he had, and in this horrible, dirty-looking house. And there's nothing civilized about this man. He looks revolting. He is not the person you would want to get to know for sure. He's a monster and he's revolting, but his victim profile is typically 17 to 80. Yes, there was the exposure to a poor child in a playground. Rolf Harris was, a similar sort of weirdo that did things like that. But I don't think he's the man. I really don't. He's the perfect patsy for it. They could get him, but they haven't managed to, have they? In 5 years, they haven't managed to prove he was on it. With regard to the person mentioned, Audrey, asleep is a good place for her to be today. So she's not. We were meant to go to a hospital earlier, but it didn't happen. But we will see if she's better tomorrow. But unfortunately, very unwell, not even wanting wine. So there we go. Anyway, we're not going to talk any further about that. So let's move on to another topic. Right. The Madeleine McCann case, further thoughts. Well, I do think £13.5 million spent on the Madeleine McCann case is quite enough. What about the other missing children? Let's get some money spent on other things. What about getting justice for other missing people? There's plenty of them who I've talked about in the past, missing people who could be found, and they get no help. Particularly the lady called Kerry Needham, whose child Ben went missing. She got no help compared to them. She's made a big fuss, and she's managed to keep herself in the public eye, but she doesn't get nearly the level of money that they get. And, her child was a toddler too and went missing abroad. And what's the difference? Why shouldn't she get the help? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ludicrous. There are plenty of other cases. I won't go into them all, but hello to Vasi Nido from Italy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Well, thank you for your kind words. Right, okay. And there we are. It could happen to anyone, I suppose. What about Andrew Gosden, who went missing? Um, I I've read a lot about the Andrew Gosden case, and that he got to King's Cross and then he just vanished. And it was all because the security weren't correctly checked, and nobody knows where he really went. He did some strange things before he went missing. It was as if he'd been lured into going somewhere, and then whatever happened happened. And sadly, I don't think he'll ever be found either. But his family keep their case alive, and good for them. And my friend Kevin Allen, whose brother went missing, the Allen missing case. They try and keep their case alive, but that was in 1979, I think, if I recall correctly. It's so sad that these people never get found, but thousands of people vanish all over the world every year. Look at Marion Barter. If you want to listen to a good podcast series on Spotify, listen to the case of Marion Barter. It's called The Lady Who Vanished, or The Lady That Vanished, or something. It goes on and on and on. It's very, very long, and I did manage to do all of it. But people do vanish. Wits End says the McCanns, or the McScams, as she calls them, should at least have been arrested for child neglect. Well, I totally agree with you. I don't think what they did was correct. Totally, I've said that all along. You can't go leaving 3 children ended in an apartment that opens onto a public highway. It did not open into the resort; it opened onto the public highway. That's disgusting. They were all under 3 years old. So terrible. The police thought they'd suffered enough. Well, the Portuguese police were not very happy with them, but there was a lot of pressure put on them by the British government, and people like Peter Mandelson, who interfered, and Clement Freud and all the rest of them. Did I watch Victoria Haig's Ron Swanson interview? I haven't watched it yet, but I will be watching it. I have been in touch with Victoria today. Victoria is a lovely friend of mine, and hopefully will come and visit me soon, because I'd love to see Victoria. I didn't know she'd made an interview with Ron Swanson, though. She sent me a link, and I haven't clicked it yet because I've been rather busy all day. But I will try and watch it. But I didn't know that they'd been in contact, so there we are. I don't know about that, but there we are. Right. Okay. Right. I think that's enough on the McCanns. Any other questions? We'll have a quiz. Unless you have another question, a different topic to the McCanns, because I think we talk about the McCanns an awful too much. Right. Did I watch Lady Victoria Harvey on LBC? I've seen a clip of LBC with her. Lady Victoria Harvey, her opinion is as much use as a chocolate teapot. It's a total irrelevance. I don't believe Lady Victoria Harvey has any right to talk on any topic, because she is completely insane. And if I ever see her again, I'll tell her that to her face, because I can't stand the woman. I think she's a bloody menace. Not a fan of hers. Did I ever consider joining the armed forces? Can't say I did. No, not really for me. But several of my friends have served in Iraq, and my school friends, and one wrote a book about it. And he was a wonderful person. The things people have been through that I know who've been in the armed forces, they've served with absolute valor and what wonderful people, and I admire them hugely. But no, it wasn't something that appealed to me. You know, on Saturday Live today, it was all about what did you dream of being when you were growing up, and you know, people going on about being an astronaut or president or whatever. I never really had such a thought in my head. I didn't know what I wanted to be honest. I just like reading books. As a child, I loved to read. And I like listening to the radio. I was always into listening to the radio and reading books. I still am. So I haven't really changed in that regard. Um, how's my French coming along? Well, I pick up the odd word, and they pick up the odd word of English. Did I watch the Diddy case? I've read a little about it, but it's not really exciting to me. I'm not really into that. Do I think that Lady Victoria Harvey is in Andy's pocket? Of course, she thinks she is. She's just trying to make money out of the whole thing. She's ridiculous. There we go. Anyway, lots of questions coming in, so I'm not going to keep up. Where did I go to school? The Royal Grammar School, Lancaster. Very good school. You know, we had some wonderful people there. You know, fabulous teachers. What did we have for dinner? Fish finger sandwich. I've already brought that up. You wanted to be a dinosaur fossil hunter. Did not happen. Well, it's lovely to have aspirations. You could have been in Jurassic Park, couldn't you? Right. Right. I don't know what TMTB says the city had one. I'm not sure what they had. Bob Badella. I don't know what this is about, so I'm getting a bit confused here. Yes, Sonia doesn't like Lady Victoria, clearly. Mr. Lee Kicker says she's spouting the same rubbish she said to Piers Morgan. She's a total nutter. Totally agree. My buddy just got a job in marketing with Kellogg's cereals. I guess you could say his job is raisin bran awareness. Oh, well, that's a witty thing, Audrey. Yes, parents should hire a nanny. That's obviously in the context of if they want a night off, in the context of Madeleine McCann. Yes. Have I ever visited Warrington? Yes, I used to go to Warrington because we were producing a gin there for a while. I was involved in. So it was where the Bombay Sapphire had the distillery. And of course, Warrington has a fine export, Caricatona. I wouldn't say she's that fine, but there we go. Right. Joseph thinks that Lady Victoria has interesting points about the photo, but you don't like her. There we go. Right. Okay. Well, the worst city I've ever been to. Gosh, the worst place I've ever been. I don't know. I'm not sure of a worst city. I'm trying to think. Don't know. I did go to a place near Newcastle that was very horrible on a school trip. It was where they made Fujitsu stings, and that wasn't very nice. But I don't know if I don't think it was a city, but I can't remember its name. But it was near Newcastle, and it was horrible. Didn't like that place. It was ghastly. Oh, so Kerry Katona is not popular with you. Good. I don't like her myself. I think she's awful. Right. Okay. Well, I think it's time we did a quiz. Let's have a quiz. Okay. Well, the first quiz of the day. I've got several quizzes. Right. Let's do a quiz. So, is anyone prepared to help me with the quiz? Tina De Silva asks, is anyone prepared to tally? But I can do some of this myself. But with a little Chianti, it helps me along. So, have we got someone prepared to help with the quiz? Okay. Anybody ready? Or are you ready for a quiz? There's over, several 143 of you here. So, right. Okay. Well, I even got a new pen today because my pens are running out of ink because of all your quizzes and all the quiz writing. So I had to get a new pen. It was €1, so it wasn't very expensive. There we go. Right, you're ready. Okay, right. Well, I don't know if anyone is going to help, but okay. The first question is, with which sport is Jamison Gibson Park associated? Which sport is he associated? Jamison Gibson Park. Anne of Cleves gets the point. Well done to Anne of Cleves. Anne of Cleves gets 1 point. It is, of course, rugby. It's rugby union. I should really expect you to get the full answer, but I'll allow the first answer in this case. He is to do with Ireland, Leinster. He was a scrum half. His caps for Lions was 0 and his tests 43 as of 2025. So there we go. Okay, as of April 2025, how many female inmates are there in the prisons of England and Wales approximately? Female inmates. It's not 750, it's not 12,000, it's not 30,000, it's not enough, it's not 6,000. I will accept Joseph Amarifa's answer because it's very, very close. I don't know where you get that answer from, but Joseph Am gets it, as I will write your name down. There are 3,683, but I would have accepted 3,500, and you said 3,600 or 500 or something. There are 84,043 men. 2/3 of the female prisoners are non-violent offenders, and 55% of them are actually victims of domestic abuse. So it's a strange state of affairs, isn't it? Okay, who wrote the songs Back for Good, 1995, Patience, 2006, These Days, 2014, and Never Forget? Who wrote that in 1995? Which person? Right. It wasn't Take That who wrote it. Sarah Byrne gets the point because it was Gary Barlow. Sarah Byrne, 1 point to you. So we've got 3 people with 1 point on our first 3 questions. You're doing very well. You're getting the questions. You're doing well. Okay. On which island was Scotsman Alexander? I'm forgetting to write his. The Scotsman Alexander marooned from September 1704 to February 1709. Leslie S gets it with Robinson Crusoe Island. Leslie S, 1 point to you. It was also known as Isla Tierra. It inspired Daniel Defoe's novel South Pacific. Okay, yes, that was that. I'll have to improve my notes on that one because I've missed out one thing. There we are. But anyway, you got it. Okay. Who were the stars of the 1957 film The Smallest Show on Earth? I need both names, two names. It wasn't Epstein Island, no. For the previous, no. But who were the stars of The Smallest Show on Earth? Both names required, the male and the female. It wasn't Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. It wasn't the Crankies. It wasn't Laurel and Hardy. The male and the female. I've no idea why the answers are coming up for you before I read the questions, but Audrey gets the point. Obviously, you have some kind of delay. I can't help that. Audrey gets the point. Of course, it was Bill Travers and Virginia McKenna. It was a comedy. I don't know why. I can't do anything about the timing of YouTube. I don't know how it works. I've no idea. But I am speaking at full time and I'm reading as I get everything. Let's. Right. So, right. Some of you may have paused as TMTB says. There we go. Press on top of the screen for the live chat. Yes. It's not on my end, no. Okay, who plays Tom Archer in the BBC Radio 4 drama The Archers? Who plays Tom Archer? It's not Bob Ross, no. It's not Peter Sutcliffe. Audrey gets a second point. Well done to Audrey. It's William Troughton. You've spelt it incorrectly, but your spelling is nearly there. So you get the point. And you are answering my questions immediately. So, you know, if the others of you don't know how to deal with this, it's not down to me. His father role of Tony Archer in January 2014. His grandfather was the second incarnation of the Doctor in Doctor Who. There we go. Okay, what do politicians Sir Edward Heath, railway engineer Thomas Russell Crampton, and animator Oliver Postgate have in common? What do they have in common? Not trains, no. Not 1647. They didn't all live in Salisbury, no, but they did live somewhere. They didn't all have the same date of birth because they're all from very different places. They didn't all go to Audrey gets a third point. Audrey is now in the lead with 3 points because, of course, they were all associated with Broadstairs, where I used to live in Kent. Charles Dickens, John Buchan, Mike Nolan of Bucks Fizz, Walter Sickert also lived there. Okay, and then we come back to Walter Sickert. With which crime was Walter Sickert, who moved to Broadstairs in 1934, often linked? Which crime was he associated with? Cadders gets it. Well done to Cadders, a new entrant. Cadders, 1 point to you. 1 point to the Cadders. Of course, they were all Jack the Ripper suspects. Well, he was a Jack the Ripper suspect. Sorry, I'm moving on to a different. Patricia Cornwell, the hoax letters, He was often in France at the time of the killings. Cornwell destroyed a painting Patricia Cornwell destroyed the painting trying to get his DNA. She didn't do very well out of that. Okay, what links Mrs. Mary Piercy is her spelled with an A and an I in different versions. Montague Pruitt, Frederick Deeming, and Dr. Francis Tumblety. It wasn't Whigs, no. No, they didn't work for the royal family. They weren't doctors. TMTB gets it. They were suspects. But in suspects of what? It was the Jack the Ripper case. So I'll allow that they were all suspects of being Jack the Ripper. So 1 point to you. Right. On the 16th of May 2001, what did then Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott do to a protester who threw an egg at him? I've got Samantha Markle trying to ring me, but obviously I can't answer. So there we go. The first answer is Tina De Silva punched him. Tina De Silva. Well done to Tina De Silva. Of course, he punched him, and 1 point to you for that. It's amazing he wasn't prosecuted like the other Labour MP who was sent to jail and, forced out recently. But, good for him. If someone attacks you, you don't need to be money. It was the other way around with the other one. I rather like John Prescott. I think he actually added a bit of colour to the world. Good old Two Jags. I liked his TV show he did towards the end of his life. There we are. So, next question. On the same day, the 16th of May, well, different year, 2005, what did ITV launch? What was launched by ITV on the 16th of May, 2005? No, what did ITV launch? It wasn't ITV2, it wasn't ITVX, it wasn't ITVB, it wasn't This Morning, it wasn't a missile. Enigma is close, but not quite. It wasn't ITV3, it wasn't Love Island, but it was something close. It wasn't Lorraine Kelly, it wasn't Freeview, it wasn't Channel 5, it wasn't Good Morning, it wasn't Telephone. I've given you a clue, but it wasn't I'm a Celebrity, but some of you are close. It wasn't Big Brother, no, that was Channel 4. It wasn't Pop Idol, it wasn't Loose Women. It wasn't The Only Way is Essex. It wasn't Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It wasn't ITVB. It wasn't Britain's Got Talent. It wasn't The X Factor. I thought this would be an easy question. I tried to throw in a few sort of. Audrey is close, but not quite. We need the full name. No. I'll give you all 1 more second. I'll have 3 more lines, and if you don't get it, no points will be awarded. It wasn't Love Island Extra Sun. Jane O'Keefe is the closest. So Jane O'Keefe, you can have a point. It was Celebrity Love Island, not Love Island. It was the celebrity version. Jane O'Keefe, you can have the point. Abby Titmus and Rebecca Luce. They weren't exactly famous, were they? Famous for being dreadful, let's be honest. There we go. So As of 2025, how many times has supermodel Christy Brinkley been divorced? How many times has Christy Brinkley been divorced? It's not 50. It's not 3. But Tina De Silva gets a second point, taking you into second place with 4 times. She was divorced from Jean-Francois Alou, don't know how to pronounce it, Billy Joel, Richard Taubman, and Peter Cook. Okay, in which English county might you find Chesterfield? Where might you find Chesterfield? There are 2 options. Which English county? I'll accept the first acceptable one, Chesterfield. And I was born in a Chesterfield, but it's not Chester. It's not Hampshire. It's George gets the point because you've got Derbyshire. So that's where I was born, and the place of the Crooked Spire and all of that. But of course, there's a Chesterfield in Kent, so you could also find one in Kent. There may be others, but the only 2 I could think of were those 2. I thought it was a good question. Okay, which production company made the 2024 adaptation of Dame Jilly Cooper's Rivals for Disney Plus? Which company made the and Cult Television says Aoploid. Yes, well, put the donkeys out in the field. Okay, well, I was born in Chesterfield, Derbyshire, but we didn't live there we didn't really live there. It was just near where my grandparents lived. It wasn't Yorkshire TV. It wasn't Disney, no. Enigma can have the point. Enigma, well done. It was ITV Studios, so I'll allow that. There we are. Okay, what links Newbury, Newmarket, and Newcastle? What links those 3 places? What links them? What do they all have in common? Cult TV can say it. Yeah, Cult TV I'll accept because you deserve a point, Cult TV. You are trying. You didn't say the full thing, but it's horses, of course, horse racing. So there we go. All have horse racing tracks. Okay, in which year was the Superman star Henry Cavill born in St. Helier, Jersey? Which year was he born in? Henry Cavill. He was my friend's neighbour in London. He's a very pleasant person, actually. Anne of Cleves gets a second point, so that gives you you're now a joint second. Anne of Cleves, of course, it was 1983, the 5th of May. Okay, next question. In which year was did the American journalist Norman Mailer die? When did Norman Mailer die? Which year did Norman Mailer die, the American journalist? No. So you're getting plenty of time. Sonia Todd. Right, Sonia Todd, you're getting a point for the first time. Sonia Todd. It's 2007. He died on the 10th of November, 2007. He was 11 best-selling books, innovator of creative non-fiction and new journalism. There we go. Okay, for which parliamentary constituency in the UK was Peter Mandelson the Member of Parliament for between 1992 and 2004? Peter Mandelson, now British ambassador to Washington, disgracefully. It wasn't Peckham, it wasn't Leicester, it wasn't Brixton, it wasn't Manchester. No. It wasn't Blackburn, it wasn't Chester, it wasn't Middlesex, it wasn't Windsor, no. It wasn't Stoke, it wasn't Oxford. Audrey gets a 4th point because, of course, it's Hartlepool. Audrey is now in the lead again, well in the lead, 4 points. We do have 2 people with 2 points, so there is all the possibility to play for. Right, okay. The penultimate question. What occurred at the Millennium Dome on the 7th of November 2000? What occurred? The 7th of November 2000 at the Millennium Dome. What happened there? Chrissy K can have a point. Chrissy K. 1 point to you. You're a new entrant. It was a robbery. It was an attempted robbery of the De Beers diamonds. It was foiled by waiting police, and 4 men were jailed in 2002 for attempted robbery. Okay, and this is one of my favorites. Who wrote the 1982 war novel War Horse? A wonderful, wonderful thing. Who wrote War Horse? It wasn't Janet Evans. No, Janet Evans couldn't write a bus ticket. It wasn't Gore Vidal. It wasn't Tolkien. It wasn't John Smith. It wasn't Burns. No. Audrey gets the point, giving Audrey 5 points. Of course, it was Michael Morpurgo. So it was Joey the Horse, WW1, Devon, acclaimed Steven Spielberg film adaptation in 2011, award-winning play in 2007, sequel in 1997 called Farm Boy. So there you go. And the winner of this particular quiz is Audrey. So well done to Audrey. So there we go. That's that quiz done. We'll do another quiz. Why not? See if Audrey can be a victor again, or whether someone else can challenge Audrey. Right. Okay, the next quiz. Right. Are we ready? Question number 1. Where was Margaret Thatcher born on the 13th of October, 1925? Where was Margaret Thatcher born? I need the name of the town, not the county. But Tina De Silva is correct with the county. But I will allow Mr. Balding gets it correct because everybody talked. Right, 1 point to you. But Tina De Silva often gets lots of points, so I'm sure Tina De Silva can catch up. Though I should have put which town was she born, perhaps. Okay. How long in minutes did it take for the 180-foot long Bayesian super yacht to sink on the 18th of August, 2024? How many minutes did it take for the boat to sink? It was not 147. It wasn't 4. It wasn't 30. It wasn't 63. It wasn't 12. It wasn't 76. It wasn't 86. It wasn't 17. But you're close. Chrissy K, I'll give you the point because you're 1 minute out. Chrissy K, you can have the point because it was 16 minutes for that tragedy for the 236-foot mast. Mike Lynch, Britain's first Bill Gates, and they sank in 80-mile-an-hour winds. What a tragedy. And, that man had just beaten, a huge court case in America. Friends of mine were friends with him. I didn't know him personally, but his daughter was about to go to Oxford, and what a great shame, and all those people who, had all been very successful in their lives, and, and even in the rescue operation, one of the divers died. So, well, not the rescue operation, the operation to try and bring up the boat. So, it's claimed even more lives after it's even sunk. The thing is a cursed disaster area, and the mast was too tall. Let's be honest. I think that's the problem with it. There we are. 1 minute is a lot when it was dry. Well, the answers people give, I can only read them out in the order they come up on my live chat, and it says live chats. So I only can do that. So I'm not going to be able to change that. I can't do anything about it. It's impossible. So there we are. Next question. So well done to Mr. Balding and Chrissy K, who got the correct answers to the first two. Okay, how much was Rishi Sunak paid for a speech in April 2025? How much was he paid? It wasn't 50p. You're way out. It wasn't 1.5. It wasn't 125,000. It wasn't 5,000. It wasn't 500,000. It was perhaps too much. I would agree. Audrey is the closest, so I'll take Audrey. Yes, Audrey says 160,000. He was paid £160,750 for 3 hours of work. That is a lot of money for a man who really should not be paid that. And Liz the Lettuce has also been paid huge amounts of money. Isn't that disgraceful? You can see now the mast of the boat rocking behind me a little bit. It's not rocking that much yet, but it's not quite the Bayesian, so it's not quite in that league as the old yacht behind me, but it is rocking a little bit. So there we are. Maybe he can afford to pay for his Sky TV now, says Mr. Balding. Mr. Lee Kicker says Liz Truss is a comedy genius. I totally agree. She's like a lettuce, isn't she? Anyway, I'm going to have a little prawn cocktail tomorrow, so that'll be nice with a bit of lettuce. So my lettuce won't be lasting as long as Liz Truss because it'll need to be used up for my prawn cocktail. And hopefully we'll have some nice guests to lunch and we can have a nice time with a prawn cocktail. But we don't want Liz Truss. So Liz, if you're watching, which I doubt you are, please don't come round. Bye, Liz. Lettuce lasts longer than you, love. And even in America, they don't have a clue who you are. So there we go. Even the MAGA people don't have a clue who she is. So the next question. With which sport is Marco Penge associated? Marco Penge. It's not rugby, it's not skiing, but Mr. Lee Kicker gets the point. This is golf. Mr. Lee Kicker, 1 point to you. He's a golfer. Okay, how many people died in total as a result of the 21st of December 1988 Lockerbie terrorist attack on the Pan Am? Was it Pan Am or whatever, American Airlines or whatever it was plane? How many people died? It wasn't 5, it wasn't 12, it wasn't 245, it wasn't 348, it wasn't 250. It wasn't 150. Sarah Byrne is correct. Sarah gets the point. Sarah Byrne, it was indeed 270 exactly, sadly. Two poor people who lost their lives. 248 passengers, 16 crew, 11 people on the ground. So the total was 270. What a tragic loss of life. And of course, Dunblane was where the tennis players grew up. I forget their names now. Those tennis players. Andy Murray and his brother and their mother. That's where they lived, and they went to. No, sorry, they were the massacre. Sorry, I've got the wrong place. So no, I was completely wrong. It was nothing to do with Lockerbie. I do apologize. I've mixed it all up. That was my mea culpa. I was wrong. They were in Dunblane. I'm thinking of another horrible Scottish thing. In which year did Carey Mulligan star in She Said? Carey Mulligan. It was the New York Times Me Too expose of Harvey Weinstein was what the film was about. Which year? Hey Tigers gets it, or Hey Tiggers. I don't know whether I call you Hey Tigers or Hey Tiggers. You get it because it was 2022. Okay, in which year did the creepy Christian crooner Cliff Richards star because I can't stand the man, in the musical comedy Take Me High? It wasn't 1967. It wasn't 1979. It wasn't 1956. It wasn't. No. Sarah Byrne gets a second point. Sarah Byrne is now in the lead. It's 1973. Which Mexican restaurant chain did MasterChef winner Thomasina Myers found? What was the name of her restaurant she founded in August 2007? It wasn't Taco Bell. It wasn't Woohoo. It wasn't Nando's. It wasn't Tex-Mex. It wasn't Chimichurri. Audrey gets the point. So Audrey now is in joint first with Sarah Byrne. It was Oaxaca. So they had 14 locations as of 2025. They'd closed a further 11 locations since 2017. Okay. What age did the American painter of Nighthawks, which is a wonderful painting, Edward Hopper, die at on the 15th of May, 1967? What was his age on his death? It wasn't 54. It wasn't 56. It wasn't. It wasn't 27. Sarah Byrne gets a third point because it was 84. He died at age 84. In what year did the legendary chat show host Sir David Frost grill disgraced President Richard Nixon in a 28 and 3/4 hour recorded interview? In which year did he record him for all that time, the disgraced president? No. You're all close, but you're not. Well, some of you are, but some of you aren't. Sarah Byrne gets a 4 points. It was 1977. Okay, on which day of the year is Father's Day celebrated in the UK currently? And which day is the date? The date, on which date? Which date? It's not the 30th of May. It's not the 16th of June. It's not March the 15th. It's not June the 14th. Audrey gets the point. So third point to Audrey. It's the 15th of June. So that's the date. Okay. What two words does bankster combine? What is bankster? Bankster. What does that word combine? I need. Hey Tigers gets the point. So a second point to you. It means banker and gangster. So there we are. Right. Okay. In Cockney rhyming slang, what are tables and chairs? What does that if you say tables and chairs, what does table and chairs mean? Tina De Silva gets the point. Well done to you. You're a new entrant. Of course, it means stairs. So, well done to you. Right. In which year did Stephen Burkoff, my good friend, play George Cornell in The Krays? Which year did he play George Cornell? It wasn't 1984. Nope. Nope. Some of you are close, but some of you. Sarah Byrne gets a 5th point. Well done to Sarah. Of course, it was 1990. George Cornell, of course, was shot and killed by Ronnie Kray at the Blind Beggar on the 10th of March 1966, he was an enforcer for the Richardsons. There we are. Okay, with what vile activity is Larissa Switlick involved? Larissa Switlick. She's someone I campaign against. It's not dogging, and it's not prostitution. It's not robbery. It's not pegging. It's not sloth keeping. No. Jane Hennessy can have a point. Jane Hennessy. She is a vile abuser of animals. She kills endangered animals. You know, she had the sex toy incident with a sheep in the UK, goats, giraffes, bears, lions, crocodiles. My petition, which has got over 21,000 signatures, if you haven't signed it already on change.org, please go and sign it to try and get a ban from social media. I've yet to get her ban, even in spite of 21,000 plus signatures. There we go. Okay, in which year did the mucky madam Ghislaine Maxwell give an interview to Jeremy Kyle with her brother on Talk TV? Which year did she give the interview on Talk TV? Hey Tigers gets it straight away. Well done to you. So 3rd point for you. It was 2023, 8th of March. She was put in the hole as a result. Serves her right. She's a disgrace. She's awful and vile. Don't like Ghislaine Maxwell. Not my kind of person. Okay. Which type of male cat is often dubbed a Velcro cat and is more affectionate and less aloof than other breeds? Which cat is considered that? You say Tom. No, it's not a tomcat. It's not a lion cat. It's not a tabby cat. It's not a feral cat. It's not a Maine cat. It's not a pamper cat. It's not a rag doll. It's not a tuxedo cat or a hairless cat or a pole cat or a Burmese, a kissy, moggy, Persian Manx. Nope, it's none of those. It's not a homeless cat. It's not a wild cat. It's not a caracal, whatever that is, or a top cat. It's not a kitty cat. It's not a dead cat. It's not a blue cat. Audrey is the one who gets the point because it is a ginger cat. So, yeah, you can have it. Ginger cats are considered less aloof than others, supposedly. That's what I read in a survey yesterday. So, there you go. And the male ginger cat is less aloof than others. And the female one is not very friendly, supposedly. Okay, in which English county is Good Easter, a place called Good Easter, to be found? Where would you find it? Near Chelmsford. Good Easter. Sarah Byrne gets another point because, of course, it's Essex. Essex. Good Easter in Essex. It comes from the Old English estre, meaning sheepfold. It's nothing to do with Christianity and Easter itself, the festival of Easter. So it's nothing to do with that. As of 2025, which racket sport is said to be the world's fastest growing? Which is the fastest growing racket sport in the world? Suppose it's the fastest growing sport of all. No, not tennis and not badminton, not pickleball. Sarah Byrne. Sarah Byrne is the first to get it, though not spelt correctly. It's Padel, spelt Padel, but Sarah Byrne now has 7 points, well in the lead. And now we have the final question. Which actor has starred in Top Gun, Mission Impossible, Eyes Wide Shut, and Jerry Maguire? Which actors starred in all of those? The first is Hey Tigers to get it. So you've got 4 points. So there we go. That was that quiz dealt with. Right. Okay. So in this quiz, the winner with 7 points was Sarah Byrne. Second, with joint second, was Audrey with 4 points. And Hey Tigers. And then we have Mr. Balding and Chrissy K and Tina De Silva and Jane on 1 point. So thank you to you all. Yeah, Sarah Byrne was doing very well. So well done to Sarah Byrne. You were a top performer, Sarah Byrne. So there we go. Anyway, I think that's enough quizzes for one night. Have we any more questions? A few more questions. We're at 1 hour and 20 minutes, so it would be pleasant to go to bed in 10 minutes, I think, for me, because I'm ready for that. You thank me for my quizzes. That's very kind. I'd say cheers to you all. Well done to our 2 winners tonight. And well done to everybody else who participated and joined in. Well done. You know, our winners, Audrey, and our winner, Sarah Byrne. So well done. We don't need to ask about the person concerned because, quite frankly, there's no point trying to summon up trouble. As you can see, starting to get dark here. And yeah, did I sleep well last night? Not really, but we'll try and sleep better tonight. So there we go. Anyway, right. I'm getting shouting in the background, but I don't need the shouting. I made clear I did not need shouting. So, when am I getting my hair cut? I've already got my hair cut. I got my hair cut this week, but it's it just looks a bit weird tonight. There we go. What's my view on cryptocurrency? Not really into cryptocurrency. Right. Okay. Right. Anyway, I don't know. If there's no more questions, I will end the broadcast now because the shouting has begun. Anyway, it's time for me to go to bed and to get some good night's sleep. Anyway, thank you very much for your joining in, and thank you ever so much for everything. Thank you, and we'll talk tomorrow. Okay, take care and good night. Take care. Bye-bye.